Good morning. Good morning. Just checking to see that this is actually working. Good morning. Good morning. Welcome to the Plant Your Seeds of Transformation podcast. I'm Coach Donna Marie. Thank you for joining me. And this is my weekly live with Coach Donna Marie. I'm doing this at 6 a.m. every Tuesday morning. And I am so grateful to have you if you're watching live or if you're watching in the future. Give me a second. I have an alarm to turn off. Thank you for your patience with me there. Yeah, I gotta change that to 5 minutes earlier. All right, so thank you for listening. If you've caught recent episodes of the Plant Your Seeds of Transformation podcast, you will have heard me talk about dealing with grief during the holidays. I talked about it both here on this weekly live and also have been talking about it through my private mentorship group available through my Patreon. If you're interested in joining me over there, that's at patreon.com/plant your seed to transformation, or just go to plantyourseeds.show and you'll see all things, all the links, all the social links, everything there, plantyourseeds.show. All right, so I'm a little winded, a little easier than normal because I am dealing with a little minor cold. It's annoying. It's uncomfortable, but I shall survive. And I need to make sure I have some tissue nearby too. Um, it's just an annoyance, and it kind of affects my ability to kind of focus and concentrate like I normally would do. And but I don't regret having a great holiday. Now, I wanted to talk to y'all today about another aspect of dealing with grief during the holidays. This is just kind of going to take us in a little, dig a little deeper into what we talked about before, and probably it will pull in a little of what I talked about during in the private mentorship program. There are things that you will benefit from if you don't do them during this holiday season. If you're a person who's dealing with grief, it could be grief from losing a loved one or from losing a relationship. It could be from dealing with a bad marriage. It could be from dealing with a fraught relationship with children or parents, or it could be the grief that you may have can have various different sources, but it's still grief. And you have a right to grieve whatever way you need to grieve, which I shared before. Don't let anybody try to dictate to you how you should or shouldn't be grieving. Now, I just want to make sure that that you know that I'm here for you. I'm available to you through my Patreon. I set up that group so that you'll have the opportunity to have a community to surround you, to support you. This is It takes a lot to kind of recover from grief, and I know some people don't like saying that, don't like it when you say that you can't recover from grief because it grief never ends. I know some people don't like you saying that, but when you live it, you know what the truth is. And I've said before, grief has different textures. It looks different at different times. And you have to figure that out for yourself. You can figure that out on your own by reading and learning more about it. You can figure that out through seeking professional help through a therapist. Some people even use somatic therapists like acupuncturists or massage therapists. Some people even use those types of methods of therapy. It doesn't have to be talk therapy, but there are ways that you can address your grief and learn about your grief that work for you. And only you can figure that out. Nobody, even a therapist, can't tell you how to deal with your grief. They can support you, they can give you information, they can advise you, but nobody can enter into your body, your spirit, your soul, and determine how you're going to deal with your grief. Everybody has different stuff. So I just want to encourage you to don't let nobody control you or rule you in this area of your life. If you're dealing with grief, you learn how to deal with it whatever way you have to deal with it. That said, there are some things that I can advise you that you should not do and that you should do that will support you in your journey with dealing with your grief during the holidays. We're specifically talking about during the holidays. So here we go. Number one, no isolation. I know when you're grieving, I'm talking to you because I've been there, still dealing with this. When you're grieving, sometimes you just don't want to be around other people, not because you're trying to be selfish, but because you're trying to spare them from your sadness. And that is really hard to juggle, right? So you have to find a place and a time that works for you to be around people. And this is the thing to do: be around people you love and you care about, be around babies or young children, be around pets. Some people just have good pets that just love on them. Be around selfless friends and family, people who just want to love on you, want to feed you, want to have fun and laugh with you, sing with you, whatever. Be around people who will be that for you. Physical activity. It could be as little as just stretching when you get up in the morning. Be grounded in your body. Go on walks. Um, this is something that's really been helpful for me, and I learned it. I'll have to see if I can find the link to this information and share that in the show notes. There's a guy who actually has created the science of grounding, like in your physical body, grounding. It's a literal science. And I've tested this myself, and I know that this is true. There is electricity that runs throughout the world, including our physical bodies. You ever heard of static electricity? You ever touched somebody or something and got the shock of your life? That's static electricity. That is real. Have you ever noticed that if you take your shoes off, that static electricity is not there? That's what grounding is. Try it, y'all. I'm not lying to you. If you take your shoes off and walk barefoot, you will literally ground yourself. This has been proven to improve specific medical conditions, including multiple sclerosis. There have been studies on this, okay? It's been shown, proven to improve problems with chronic inflammation. Now, counter to that, if you walk around with shoes on all the time and never ever walk barefoot, this can cause chronic inflammation, knee joint pain, not just from wearing the wrong kind of shoes, but from wearing shoes, period. Walk around barefoot some. See, for me, I had some issues with my feet. I had to go to a podiatrist. I've learned how to address these issues, and now walking barefoot does not hurt anymore. It used to hurt me to walk barefoot. The other thing is that I do have knee joint and back joint pain. I've been diagnosed with arthritis or something. I don't know what this is, but arthritis is a type of inflammation. And excuse me, or rather, I believe that arthritis is caused by different types of inflammation in your body in different places in different ways. And there's several different types of arthritis so far as I've heard. But if you just take your shoes off and walk barefoot, you may notice a reduction in the pain, a reduction in the amount of static electricity. That is a sign, that reduction of static electricity is a sign that your body's more grounded. And the way that God created our bodies to work is amazing. He's put water in us, He's put chemicals in us. You know, all the chemicals in the periodic table, some of those chemicals are in your body, the primary ones being carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, H2O, oxygen, carbon dioxide rather, which we breathe out of our lungs. God has put chemicals in your body, right? Electricity is energy that is passed from chemicals, through conduits, through your body is a conduit for electricity. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. That's why a lot of people now use magnetic therapies to help with pain. You can purchase items that have copper in them and items that have magnets in them. For instance, sometimes people will wrap their knees, if they have knee pain, they wrap their knees with something. People who have wrist problems will wrap their wrists with something that has copper or magnets in it. Our bodies can conduct electricity, y'all. So literally grounding your body can help with your physical health, but it can also help with your mental and emotional health, especially if you're grieving. Staying present in your body, staying connected to your physical body can help you deal with grief in healthier ways. Now, if you read and learn about information regarding how the brain was created by God to work, you'll learn that fight or flight, you may have heard people talk about this before, fight or flight is just part of how all beings are wired, not just human beings. And so our bodies have mechanisms that were created in them to react, to protect us, right? So part of that protection, flight, can be withdrawing and isolating. So this is how we got around to this topic of grounding yourself. Withdrawing and isolating is a form of flight. But if you instead have yourself connected to your body, grounding, take it off your shoes, doesn't have to be all day, just a little while. Walk around a little while with no shoes on. Go outside, step in the grass, step on your patio with no shoes on. Make sure it's not filthy. If it's filthy, don't do that, okay? But just do it a little bit. See how you like it. See how it helps. Think about the coolness on your feet. Think about how your body feels. Pay attention to how you feel. That's grounding yourself inside mentally. Pay attention to how your body feels. That can help you with dealing with some of your grief. Just trust me on this. You have to try this out and see what I'm talking about. Now, most important topic for the holidays, dealing with grief. Have boundaries, reinforce your boundaries, reaffirm your boundaries, because there are certain people who are always going to push those boundaries. You already know who they are. And sometimes you may not be able to get away from them. They may be in your house. You may not be able to get away from them, but you can refuse to isolate, which means you're going to be around some people. And then you can refuse to capitulate. Refuse to back down from your boundaries. Whatever those boundaries may be. You may ask Uncle Joe to stop cursing so much in your house. That might be your boundary. And reinforce that and put him out if he's not going to listen. Okay? You may have to not allow them to play poker in your house because they get too loud and boisterous and scare everybody with all of their fighting and screaming over these card games. You may have to set a boundary around it. I don't know. I don't know what your situation may be. You may have to set a boundary around the type of foods that are brought into your home during the holiday season. Now, I'm an eggnog fan, and I intentionally just brought one small container of eggnog. So that way we wouldn't overindulge in that. And, you know, I like eggnog. I like to have it at the holidays, but having too much of it Has happened in the past. So to avoid that this time, just one small container of eggnog, just a little eggnog. That's much better for us, right? So sometimes your boundaries are set around foods. Sometimes you may want to have more vegetables available during your holiday meal. Maybe you want to leave out, um, if you're plant based, you might want to leave out things that have ham, pork, hog maws, even turkey wings. You might not want those things in your food. You may want to prepare a dish or two that is completely plant based, no butter, no milk, no meat, no eggs. You might want to have some dishes that are all vegetable based, such as greens. You can make greens without all that stuff. There's so many other ways to flavor your greens without having to use meat products. So, if that's a boundary you want to set for your holidays, then do that. Now, if you're not in your own home, if you're in somebody else's home, this is a little more tricky. You don't necessarily have control of that, but you have control over what goes in your mouth. So, you may want to set boundaries for yourself around what you will and won't eat. I know I had to make a decision. We went to a wonderful holiday party. It was just wonderful. Loved it. Had a lot of fun. Laughed, sang. We had a lot of fun. And I had to set boundaries around what I was going to eat. I already made up my mind before I got there. I was going to load my plate with vegetables for the first round. And I actually ended up only having one round. I used the plates were nice, smaller. They weren't a super huge size plate. I loaded my plate with those vegetables first, and then I put on the starchy and meat things after. You know, if you're a person that's still eating meat and dairy products, there's nothing wrong with that. No shame in that. Don't let anybody shame you for what your eating choices are, but have your boundaries for what you will and won't eat. You may eat beef, but you don't eat pork. You may eat chicken, but you don't eat fish. You may eat fish, but you don't eat any of those other things. Whatever your boundaries are, keep them firm, reaffirm them, reinforce them, and don't let anybody shame you for whatever your choices are. That is part of grounding in your body, that you can enjoy your time and not deal with people judging you. Enjoy yourself, enjoy the sensations, the sensuality of being a human being that lives in a body, being able to enjoy yourself, to smell and taste and see and hear things that bring you joy, that trigger memories of times where you felt loved and cared for. That is something that is so important to do during the holidays, is enjoy yourself and spread love and joy. Be love and joy for others. If you're cooking, go in, baby, do that thing. Do it the way you want to do it. Put it all out there. Put your foot in that dish, you know. Enjoy yourself, spread love whatever way that you like to spread love. You like to give, you like to serve. Do that. Those things will bring you joy, will help you be grounded in yourself. Now, don't go overboard. A lot of people stay up all night cooking. Please don't do that. Your body needs sleep. That's part of loving yourself, caring for yourself, even if it's the night before the big holiday party. You don't have to abuse yourself like that. Maybe the weekend before, do some of the cooking in advance and freeze or refrigerate some of the items, right? So that way you don't have to be so bogged down on the night before the day of the event. Give yourself the rest that you need. That's part of caring for yourself during the holidays. Sometimes during the holidays, you get to partying and you don't sleep enough, and then you regret it later. Now, me, I got this cold after the holiday because I decided to take my little grandnephews and my youngest daughter to Sky Zone. It's a trampoline place. We had a great time and I have no regrets, but now I got these cold symptoms. No regrets, but I do realize I probably should have worn a mask in there because I haven't been around little kids in a long time. But being around little kids, brings me joy. Being around little kids and being around pets brings me joy, and it grounds me. And it helps me to, like I said earlier, I know grief doesn't go away. It just changes texture. So taking my family to Sky Zone this past weekend, it was actually a way for me to honor the memory of my father, because that's one of the last things that he did for my kids. And so that was a way for me to honor my father's memory and to um, address my grief in a joyful way. You don't have to address your grief in sad ways. You can address your grief in joyful ways with memories, evoking the memory of your loved one if it's a person, that has passed away. I hope these tips are helpful. I would love to hear from you. If you go to plantyourseeds.show, you can send me messages through there. You'll see the contact form there. All right, so what else? I want to make sure I don't miss anything for you all. Overindulging, that's a do not do for the holidays. Overindulging, it can send you into a cycle where you are numbing yourself out, vegging out, loosening your boundaries a little bit. It can set you up not only for physical effects later, but also for psychological and emotional effects. When you're not present in your body and you're not able to feel your feelings, it's not healthy for you. If you talk to any professional therapist, um, they'll help you understand the nuances of that. And one thing I've been told is don't judge myself for the things that I have done or do, but learn to understand it better. So I'm just encouraging to learn to understand it better. Don't judge yourself for that, okay? Learn to understand it better. And then once you understand it better, you can make new choices based on your renewed understanding. So I began to understand that for me, numbing out, vegging out, sugaring myself up, doing how that my pattern would be get sugared up, like just eat all the sweets and then pass out watching a TV show or a movie, even though that's not street drugs, it's not opioids, it's still not healthy. And so I've been making new decisions because I understand myself better. I understand that the pain that I was in, I was eating it down. I was pushing it down with food instead of letting myself feel my feelings. This year, I've made some new decisions. I had a lot of pain going on during this holiday season. And I made a decision that I'm going to feel my feelings, be it pain feelings or joy feelings. Either way, I made a decision that I'm going to feel my feelings. Part of my process of dealing with my grief during the holiday season is to stay grounded in my body and feel my feelings. Eating too much sugar, too much fatty foods, and passing out from being over sugared up, passing out during watching a movie, that is not something I want to do for myself anymore. So, yeah. So we talked about babies and pets and selfless family that will just love on selfless family and friends that will just love on you. Those are things to do. We talked about staying present in your body, walking with no shoes on. We talked about taking the time to just laugh or cry. If you need to cry, cry, laugh, whatever the feelings are. Allow yourself to feel the feelings. We talked about staying grounded, and we talked about reinforcing your boundaries, setting your boundaries and reinforcing your boundaries, especially when it comes to things like if somebody's coming to your house, their behavior in your house, you don't have to put up with that misbehavior. If you're a Christian person and you don't like to be around a lot of cursing and you have a family member who just can't help themselves, and it's upsetting for you and upsetting for the other family members who may be present, stop inviting them and don't let anybody else invite them. That's just the way that is. So, yeah. So, no isolation. We talked about that. No capitulation. That means don't loosen your boundaries to please other people. See that people pleasing thing? There's a difference between serving and people pleasing. Those are two different things. If you want to have a healthy self, then you will serve as you're led by God to serve without loosening your boundaries for people to try to walk all over you. People, you've probably heard the expression, don't mistake my loving and giving heart for weakness. When you let people walk all over your boundaries and don't set the boundaries, you got to set them and let them know about the boundaries first. And then you don't reaffirm them and reinforce them, then that is weakness. And they are taking advantage because they expect that of you. But you don't have to keep doing that. You can change. And that's a sign of codependency if you ever decide to go to a professional therapist that understands, because not all of them teach you about codependency. But if you go to one that's like an addiction specialist, many times they can teach you about codependency. If you go to somebody that's a specialist on narcissism, many times they can teach you about codependency, because codependency and narcissism actually go hand in hand. And I'm not going to get into all the details on that. Ask somebody though, look it up, research it. When you allow people to walk all over your boundaries, it's not good for you, and it can make your grief much, much worse, because it can make you feel really bad about yourself. And not just feel bad about yourself, just feel bad when somebody is trampling on your boundaries. That does not feel good. So I just want to encourage you to remember to bring in love for yourself. Welcome in the love, but don't welcome in people trampling on your love. Welcome in the experiences, the smells, the tastes, the sounds, the things that you see. Welcome in the great memories, celebrating the good memories, and even welcome in the times of the memories that make you cry. Even welcome that in. It's okay to feel those feelings. Welcome in the things that will help you move forward in your grieving process, and stay away from those things that are going to make you withdraw into yourself and isolate. When you let people walk over your boundaries, it will send you back into isolation. You'll retreat, because that's a natural response of any being to being attacked or misused or abused. So keeping healthy boundaries, and we've talked about it in previous episodes. I've shared book recommendations with you all in previous episodes. I'm not going to do that in this because we're about to wrap up. But I want to definitely refer you to go back to, I think the last episode I did share those books. So this will be episode 17. And today we talked about the do's and don'ts for dealing with your holiday grief. The main thing is welcome in welcome in selfless love from babies, pets, and friends and family who are selfless. And keep your boundaries firm. Set your boundaries and announce your boundaries and keep them firm for anybody else who's not going to do that. Don't let nobody shame you for how you're dealing with your grief. You deal with it whatever way you need to, and deal with it in healthy ways. Learn what that looks like for you. Learn what healthy grief looks like for you. But please don't shove down those feelings, and don't try to numb out and veg out. Those are not healthy ways to deal with grief. You can learn about that from a professional therapist. I hope that this was helpful for somebody out there who, like me, has dealt with deep grief during the holiday season. I hope that you'll reach out and let me know what parts of what I shared have been helpful for you. You can reach me over at plantyourseeds.show. Again, I am Coach Donna Marie, and this is my Tuesday live on YouTube. And you can find me here every Tuesday morning at 6 a.m. to 6:30 a.m.